Ben sitting here to my left was instrumental in the launch of Google Plus and Google Hangouts here in Minnesota, does workshops with on the U of M campus down at Jewel with Better Business Bureau, and well-recognized authority here in Minneapolis-St. Paul on SEO, website, and all that kind of good stuff, social media. So talk a little bit about what you do, first of all, with some of those workshops.
Yeah, so we do mainly free educational workshops for small business owners and nonprofits to help them educate on different internet marketing topics, such as search engine optimization. So teaching people what is SEO, what are some techniques that Google's looking for, what are some strategies that you can use. Also, just some things to also educate yourself so that if you're making a well-educated decision on someone to go with, is this something to keep in-house? Information that would be useful in there. We also do workshops on social media, Google Plus, Google Analytics, YouTube, things like that people can either try and take to heart to use themselves, or to again have a well-educated decision when hiring somebody to do that for them.
Now, one of the things that I've noted is there's 181,000 providers of consultants in this SEO, social media, and website area. And why do you think there's such a high percentage of them that are really unable to help organizations? And we note here on the Business Forum Show that is at least 90%. Why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, well, I think that whenever there's a need, there's always the people that are going to flock there, and this is kind of this is one of those industries too where I think it's very easy to kind of I don't want to say manipulate always, but kind of uninform somebody, or again, some people will take advantage of other people. But I think what's happening too is technology is changing so fast, and the way that SEO is done is changing so fast that even the way that we did it, even 2 to 5 years ago, if you're still doing SEO tactics 2 to 5 years ago, you're still out to date. Which again, in other industries, 2 to 5 years ago, again, you could be at decades of the same kind of techniques, the same kind of strategies.
Exactly.
Whereas SEO is just changing so fast. I think that's why there's so much need and so many people going into this field.
Very good. So we are also intending to have Dave Ford, who's my co-host here on the Business Forum Show, involved here today. We will be sharing some of his statistics. Dave, unfortunately, wasn't able to join us here on this broadcast, and so we'll share his comments in conjunction with ours. So the discussion that we'll be having here this morning, outlining current business environment and some of the challenges, current technology that's in use, some of the trends, costs, and why it's outdated, and evolution of new WebRTC, if you haven't heard about it, and TalkFusion Connect, and why you must have this in your business. So first of all, let's talk about what business looks like out there. A lot of people are unaware that 1 million plus people start a business venture of some sort every year, and the statistics, the outcome of this is pretty staggering. 40% fail in the first year, 80% fail by the 5th year, 96% will not see a 10-year anniversary, and the end result is that only 1% live the American dream. A lot of organizations that will say we made our 10-year mark and we're okay. Well, 1% of those lose a catastrophic amount of money, 1% break even, 1% make a little bit of money and still need to get a job, and then the remaining 1% lives the American dream. So we're actually talking about a pretty significant problem. And when we look at what we learn here on the Business Forum Show, we interview anywhere from 15 to 20 guests every single week. We also visit with a lot of business people outside of the show, and so we talk to a lot of people. Now, we won't pretend to have the answers on everything, but we have a little bit of a clue as to what works and what doesn't. So 70% of our clients state the number one challenge is not enough leads, not enough customers. So think about that. If you're in that position, you're not alone. Another 30% state that generating leads and customers is one of the top 3 obstacles in their organization. And over 90% can relate to this feast and famine cycle in marketing and their overall business results. This is a really, really big problem in business today, Ben, and many organizations are struggling with creating some kind of awareness for their organization online. So let's talk briefly about what some clues that big changes are coming in our own markets. I think here recently about a big name, and when I say big name, I'm saying that in quotes. A gentleman who is presenting for a large audience here in Minneapolis-St. Paul is on TV 3 times a day, and was a little confused when he got to the podium as to why the MC mispronounced his name. And it's evidence of this first statistic we're looking at here. 4 million households completely disconnect their TV in recent years, and millions more don't watch TV at all. Do you watch TV, Ben?
No, actually, no, I don't have any subscription. We just have the whole Netflix, Hulu Plus, and so I'm a prime example of that.
There you go. And I haven't had TV connected in my house for 2 years, and I'm a very connected person. I don't need TV at all to do that. So then we look at radio. Listenership dropped by 50 to 70% in many markets, and as much as 90% in some areas. And you know what? It's really scary to start thinking about how many more stations are getting closer to those 90 numbers than are even in the 50% area. Then we look at newspaper, double-digit readership losses per year, and many newspapers out there consolidating and others going out of business. And then magazine, man, it wasn't that many years ago when your mailboxes would be flooded with these and you'd see magazine stands on every corners. Those are a thing of the past, except for a few small markets. And then flyers and mailers. I'll tell you what, for people that are spending money on flyers and mailers still in today's market, I'm blown away by how much these cost. You take a dealership as an example, could easily spend $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 on one mail out of flyers, and this 0.003% response rate. You know, it's absolutely mind-boggling that people are still doing this.
Yeah.
So then what are some of the current trends? Now, we recognize, we launched our online show here a year and a half ago, and why has it contributed to the success of our show? 40% of all people get their news and media from online sources, just like you do.
Yep.
And within 18 months, that is projected to go to 80%. And think about how big of a problem that main media has right now today with that statistic, how staggering that is. So when you look at how much trouble the mainstream media already is in and where things are going, it's a big deal. So you, without a doubt, you have to be taking into consideration what you're doing online and how you're creating some awareness of your organization. So here's a few stats that we wanted to share with you on technology. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts here on this, Ben. Sale of PCs are in free fall while mobile devices dominate. So we're seeing desktop PCs basically disappear.
Yeah, actually, 2012 was actually the first year in history where mobile devices actually outsold computers, and that gap is already widening. So again, this trend has already started. We know this, a couple years ago, but it's showing in 2012 was the first time, and now it's just exploding, from there.
Fantastic. Well, you look at that, and this is part of the statistic that you're referring to here. iPhone took almost 2 years to sell 10 million units. And then Apple moved 37 million iPhones in second quarter 2013 alone.
Yep.
So you look at where the mobile market is going here. And then Android OS phones, which make up 75% of the market, shipped a whopping 156 million devices in the previous quarters. And that's just smartphones, people. There's all these other devices that people are connecting with and communicating with as well. Tablet sales in first quarter 2013 up 142% over first quarter 2012. For a total of 49.2 million units sold.
And actually, to add on to that too, going back to almost how people are getting their news, and just to go off of that too, is the last stat was in 2013, 56% of the nation in the U.S. actually have a smartphone, which is again it was the first time it was actually over 50%, and now they're saying already between 2013 and now that number is actually around 70% already.
Yeah.
So even just in 1 year, we've already gone up. Or not even a year. Again, we still got a lot of 2014 to go, and we've already gone up about 14%.
So if we check this out, so here's some stats on the impact of video. According to Cisco, the amount of video users is expected to double in size to 1.5 billion by early 2016. And here's a stat you were just talking about, Ben. 56% of adults already have smartphones. That number has increased significantly since this stat came out. And those who communicate via video tripled since 2011. So when you look at where video is going in this market, very significant, and an indication here in this last number, 90% of all internet searches will be video-based by 2015. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, it's absolutely amazing because, again, everything is going, again, video because again, it's usually a lot easier, and just the way our society, digests information is through video. And then also, I think, the access of devices, which another stat is they say by the year 2015 there'll be one mobile device for every human on Earth. So we're going to have, again, most or a lot of people these days already do have again, have a smartphone, then have a tablet, maybe have two tablets, and have a PC, or a laptop. And so there's a lot of cross, device consumption. But again, I think these devices make it so easy to consume video, and that's why we're going to see a lot of internet searches by.
Without a doubt. So think about how most organizations are communicating with clients today. Email, newsletters, and we're not talking about video newsletters. We'll get into that in just a moment. Blogging, social media, website, and direct mail. Unfortunately, that direct mail thing is still a very popular piece of communicating, even though we're seeing really significant reasons why businesses shouldn't be using that at all. So when we're talking about email, let's look at a couple of the top two bulk providers in email. They're the best known, Constant Contact and MailChimp. Most people who are using a bulk email provider service are using one of these two. So what does Constant Contact do? Everybody should be familiar with this. Let me fix this little click I made here. Everybody should be familiar with this, but what do these two providers do? Send bulk email, track opens and clicks, custom templates, and newsletters. And so let's take a look at the cost. 500 contacts, $45 per month, and 2,500 contacts are $60 per month. And one of the things I wanted to point out about that is we're going to come back to in a moment what you can do with this money instead of spending the $60 for 2,500 contacts, how you can use this to tap into some high technology stuff for less money. So here's a really interesting disclaimer that Constant Contact has on their page. It says, "We do not support the ability to embed video clips directly into an email." So they're stating that they don't. And then in the bottom, they're recognizing that adding video is actually really important because they said, we advise linking to the video instead.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, you recognize the importance of video. Why don't you have video in your service?
Mm-hmm.
it's
kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, it's kind of counterproductive, exactly. So then we have MailChimp. And what do you do with it? Basically the same things that you do with Constant Contact. The difference in the cost with MailChimp, it's cheaper. Constant Contact was at $60 per month for 2,500. This is at $35 per month. You're essentially doing the same thing with these two services. But interestingly enough, we look at this little disclaimer that's on the MailChimp side. And again, even though users can't play a video directly in their email inbox, you can design an email to look like there's a video in it. So we don't have the technology, but we'll trick them.
Let you do a screenshot that just links to a video.
Yeah. And in any event, if they're doing a screenshot or they're creating a click, and nothing wrong with YouTube, but they're sending all their clicks and their SEO stuff the YouTube route. Mm-hmm. So here's the contact database. This is actually from Dave Ford's office with Action Coach, and he sends out 3,000 contacts a month through his database in Constant Contact. So you look at this, 750 of those 3,000 are opened, and that results in 30 clicks to the website. One of the nice things about their database is they actually track what actually happens. So then if we just scroll to the bottom here, you look over the a 5-year period, and Dave has been doing this for about 7-8 years now with Constant Contact. You look over that 5-year period, 1% organic click rate to the website as a result of this effort. What do you think about that?
Well, that's still pretty low,
Yes.
It's like, again, for all the efforts and for all the monthly, costs, again, the whole idea is we're trying to get higher and higher rates, and, 1% is usually not what we're looking for.
Exactly. So one of the problems are what Constant Contact and MailChimp don't do is send video, and they don't boost organic SEO. So 1%, I think we'd all agree, is not very significant. And those are both very huge things. So using video and your SEO, huge keys to succeeding in today's market. So let's take a look at a couple of the other competitors that are out there in this market. And we're outlining a few of these technologies so that you can understand a little bit more about what we're to show you here in just a moment. So let's look at GoToMeeting. This, I don't know if you've been following what's going on with GoToMeeting recently, Ben, but this service was $99 a month. That's if you paid for it up front just 60 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
and it's been falling in price since then because they've been recognizing that, hey, there's a little problem there. Fewer people are using it. The technology has become outdated. But if we look at the cost here, $69 per month, that's in the fine print below the $56 there. And $672 is what you pay up front for a year in order to get that $56 price. So the next one we have on the list here is GoToWebinar. And using webinars like we are here today is a really huge piece of being able to teach and connect with a much larger audience than just what you can get in front of you. And you do the webinars on the U of M and Better Business Bureau and Chambers and all those events that we have talked about. But you think about the power of doing a webinar and how big an audience you can reach with something like this. Huge deal. But what's the cost of using GoToWebinar? $3,800 if you pay for it up front. That's if you have one organizer. Now, if you and I are doing, if we're both part of the organizing of a webinar, and you're in your location downtown, and I'm here, we pay double that money because there's two of us.
Yeah.
So you start looking at the cost, and you're going, this is a pretty significant, nice tool, but significant investment, or $399 a month. And then another service I want to talk about is video conferencing with Skype. This is really interesting to me in that if you go to Skype now and try to find out what it costs, it says on the homepage, we're reevaluating our premium accounts, and you can click through one page after another and you can't find any cost stuff there. You have to finally go to the Contact Us page and call their customer service. Who can sell the service without saying what they cost online? But it just shows you how much Skype is scrambling. I can tell you what it costs for me. $28 per month for up to 8 participants, or $336 a month if you pay for that up front for the year. So, and then one other service we want to take a look at is video email with BombBomb. They're one of the providers out there in video email. It's $37 a month or $444 per year. Keep in mind, though, that this is one tool, and it is also it is not functioning on the WebRTC technology that we're about to share here in just a moment. So let's take a look at the overall cost of these 5 technologies that we just looked at. And these are important things for people to have in place in their business. But if you go down this list, $6,000 a year, and that's if you pay for it up front. How many small business people are in a position to do that?
Virtually none.
virtually none. And that's why many of these tools aren't being used. So when somebody's saying, how's my social media working? How's my SEO working? How's my website functioning? How's things going on in YouTube? And then you look at the cost of all these tools, and by the time you add it all up, no wonder business people are overwhelmed in terms of how do you make all this happen? The interesting thing to note is that based on the launch of WebRTC and where technology is going relative to that, each one of these services are outdated, and that's why you see all of them scrambling right now as far as their pricing structures and whatnot that's going on the web. So a big change is coming. Now, we're jumping into area here, Ben, that's a interesting part of your expertise as well as mine. Both of us have done a fair amount here. YouTube. Indication of how powerful video is. Number 2 search engine in the world, proving that people like video. However, there's a little problem here. 97% of business people fail to help make YouTube produce the result that they're looking for and generate leads for the organization because they don't know what they're doing, and they haven't found the right professional help to get them to do what they need to do. And the fact that YouTube exposes them to instant competition means that you lose credibility right away when you haven't positioned a product there properly. Because when we look at this next slide that demonstrates what a window looks like, anybody who's been to YouTube knows that after a video plays, you're going to populate the window with 7 other videos. And if you look at this particular slide that's here, I just done a search for how to succeed in business, and this guy who did the video did a nice job. There's 3,500 views on it. But if you look in the upper right hand corner of what showed afterwards, I'm competing with Mark Cuban, the billionaire here.
Yeah.
So I better do a great job with what I'm doing, because the client that I was just trying to give business advice from now can just turn to Mr. Cuban for his business advice, and I've just lost my client. So why do you think the problem is so significant in terms of people establishing a credible presence on YouTube and why do they need professional help? Because they definitely do.
Yeah, well, because there is a skill and there is a process to it, and I think I think YouTube's done a really good job of kind of promoting themselves and marketing themselves that it's so easy to upload video and to share it, which it is. But again, there's a personal use and then kind of a business use, and I think sometimes we apply that personal use strategy to the business use strategy, which again they're completely different. And so I think
Exactly.
that's a lot of times where there's that disconnect, and that's where again a lot of businesses I see, again, do end up needing help or kind of fail from that standpoint. Is just because there is a certain strategy that and again why we do some educational workshops on to try to educate people on this process.
So if you're out there in business and you're thinking of using YouTube in your organization, great idea. But get professional help from somebody like Ben, who can help you make that YouTube channel actually work and your YouTube presence work. Because as you see the statistic here on the screen, 3% chance of succeeding generating leads to your organization if you aren't getting some kind of help. And without that, very minimal impact on SEO. And that's kind of an unfortunate thing. So now we're going to take a look at the internet of today and how it functions, and why when we're referring to old technology, what we're talking about specifically here. The way the internet functions today, here in the studio around us, we have some of the best equipment available for doing a broadcast. Very significant hardware considerations are made for the internet today. There's connectivity issues. We deal with viruses and malware. It's really interesting how the technology that's coming up, how it impacts those two challenges, viruses and malware in the computer business. And it's also very dependent on downloads, plugins, software, and software versions. We've all seen you need to update your Flash player, you need to update your video player, whatever. So we see that happen a fair amount, and that's how the internet functions today. So when we're visiting about WebRTC and real-time communication, how does WebRTC actually function? Well, the necessity of downloads and plugins go away. Any software that you're accessing on WebRTC, you do so just by a click. In fact, the webinar that we're accessing here today and uploaded here today, none of the software is on our PCs here in the studio, and no downloads or plugins were required in order to launch it. So very interesting. Freedom from Flash, you don't see any more of these updates. All you need is a webcam and a browser in order to be able to access it. Much smaller devices. And I don't know if you've seen some of the things that are going on in development right now as far as the devices alone. So we're talking about software changes, and we're talking about SEO and social media and websites, but wow, on the device side, the ways we're going to connect to the internet in the future are absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh yeah, well even just right now, again, obviously everyone knows about smartphones, but now again we have the smart watches, Google Glass, these different kind of devices that are really starting to come out that are really starting to push the boundaries that we're used to.
Yeah, and who's heard about Google Glass out there?
Yeah.
Ben just mentioned Google Glass. Briefly explain what that is.
So yeah, if you're not familiar, they're the glasses. They kind of look like a Star Trek kind of device, but they essentially sit on, again, like wearing a pair of glasses, but you can obviously see through them, but it's almost like a hologram, right there. So you're doing searches, and then you're almost navigating either with your voice or with your eyes, from it. One of my former team members on Google is actually on the development team and out there on Google Glass. So it's been kind of fun working when she comes back to
Very
working
cool.
and being able to play with Glass.
Very cool. So in a nice segue from Google development here is when did Google actually start developing WebRTC, because they're behind this. And Ben, you were involved in Google. What are they at? $390 some billion in revenue, $96 billion.
Yeah.
I don't know. The number's going up every single day.
Yeah.
Anything they're doing, does it sound big or small? I mean, it's just
Huge.
Yeah. For anybody who's going, is this thing real? Is it going to happen? Well, yeah. Who would have ever thought that Google would actually be larger than an organization like General Motors?
Yeah.
When you think back years ago, yeah, it wouldn't have been the case. So this was launched in May of 2011. A lot of work done on it since, and a lot of development that went into place. So where is WebRTC enabled? Well, the two main browsers, and the one that isn't listed here is Opera 21. It's also available there too. But you see Explorer and Safari going away. And that's been something actually that's been known here in the news recently with regard to Explorer, but going away, and WebRTC enabled on 1.2 billion different devices out there. And like I said, these are the two main browsers. We're going to take a look at some of the people that are both from Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox. This particular broadcast that we're going to show you a video on here in just a second. is done by Hugh Finnan, from the director of product management at Google Chrome, and also Todd Simpson, the chief of innovation with Mozilla Firefox. So check this out.
Hi, it's Todd Simpson over at Mozilla. I'm going to show you the latest developments in WebRTC. Here you can see I'm just going to a web page that supports WebRTC. Firefox asked me for permission to use the camera and microphone, which I give it, and making a call over to our friends at Google.
Hey Todd, how are you?
I'm great, Hugh. How about yourself?
Great. It's good to be making the call today between Chrome and Firefox using WebRTC. I think for the folks at home, I should start by introducing myself. My name is Hugh Finnan, and I work on the Chrome Media team, focused on WebRTC.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm Todd Simpson, Chief of Innovation over at Mozilla, and I love this type of innovation.
Absolutely. It's great that we can now allow developers to create great applications using just JavaScript and the Google App Engine without the need for any plugins or extra software at all.
Yeah, it's awesome, and the audio and video quality in this call is excellent as well. I know we're using BP8 and Opus, and for the technically minded, we're having an encrypted call going as well with
Awesome.
SRTP with DTLS on it, and we're going through firewalls using ICE, stun, and turn.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what great applications using video and audio people will use with this technology.
I'm sure we're going to see lots of them.
Great. Take care, Todd. Good to talk to you.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we heard a little conversation there between Hugh Finnan and Todd Simpson, and they're demonstrating. This was already back in 2013, and demonstrating how WebRTC was going to work. And he mentioned, it'll be interesting to see the types of applications that will come up here in use in WebRTC. And so we'll have a chance to visit about that, because in fact there are applications in use on WebRTC, and we'll take a look at what some of those are. So here's an article if you're interested in doing a little more research on WebRTC and what it's all about. There's all kinds of information out there for you, information geek hounds. So this was published on techradar.com. And the article, WebRTC Uncovered, Why It's the Future of Online Communications. But take a look at the subheading there that says, move over Skype and FaceTime. They're suggesting that technologies are going to fall by the wayside as a result of WebRTC. And very interesting for me. What's your thoughts on that, Ben?
Well, yeah, absolutely, because it's, it's just, again, better technology, and it's the way things are changing, and again, Google's behind it, and so anything that has the internet and Google behind it usually is going to succeed. So.
Yeah, pretty much. And so then we look at, a lot of people are unaware of the fact that here, April 1st, 2014, just this past spring, was the first WebRTC Global Summit that was over in London. And then look at all the different publications that have been published on this subject. In fact, this book that's over on the far left, the WebRTC book, this brilliant looking cover. In fact, this is, when I say that, I'm saying it sarcastically. This is a book that's for software engineers and technology architects. I wouldn't suggest getting it at all. It'll bore you to death, as well as the book way over on the far right, which is WebRTC Blueprints. And if you don't know a ton about the subject already, you will get nothing out of that book, because, again, it's all very much computer techie jargon. But the book that we're looking at on the far left about WebRTC is actually in its 3rd edition. So when people go, how long has this been out? And how long have it been? Take a look. There's all kinds of stuff that's done on it. And then in the upper right, we look here, Google Developers. There's actually a YouTube channel that was just developed on June 30th by Google Developers, and all kinds of conversation about WebRTC and what's going on with it. So very interesting. So here's where all of this comes full circle. After 7 years as a leader in video email, capitalizing on WebRTC on February 18th, just this past spring, was Talk Fusion with their Connect platform. And why is this such a big deal? Well, we'll show you some of the services that are on it. But let's visit here for just a moment been about the internet of today, the technologies of today, and there's this period of what's called this discontinuance. So when people see how things have happened, so the fact that we are very reliant on the machines that we have, the downloads that we have, and everything else, the fact that we're relying on it today, and that's what everybody is familiar with. Don't fool yourself into thinking that's the way everything's going to stay.
Yep.
You alluded earlier how quickly things are changing
Yeah.
today.
Especially, again, well, I think we've all seen it too with just, again, even like TVs and, the hardware kind of technology that we have. But, again, even like when we talk about the internet and just the way things are moving there, they're just moving at a rapid, extreme pace. Sometimes, seriously, like, again, when we work with SEO and we work with Google and stuff like that, 6 months can be outdated.
Yeah.
So again, like I joke a lot of people that half of my job is keeping up with all these changes to help educate other people. But this graph just shows it that, again, it's just rapidly changing, and just the way that we bridge the old technology and the old way of thinking to the new technology, the new learning curve.
Mm-hmm. Very significant. All right, so let's move along here. We're going to show you what's on the Connect platform, and then we'll give you an outline of the tools that are on there. So try to keep up with this.
The Spirit FM staff.
Hey, hello.
We have a new thing coming to your inbox. It's called Spirit FM Video Mail. So
Don't delete us.
Yeah, don't delete us.
Hello and welcome to the video health tip of the week. This week I want to talk about posture, and I want to talk about the aging process.
Some might say this worst case scenario is an uncleanable carpet, but not with ChemDry. Watch as I run the power head over the soiled area. You will see the true power of hot carbonating extraction.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Debbie. Happy birthday to you. Eat more cake. Join Talk Fusion.
Hello everybody, this is Kenneth Andreasen, Zach's coach. We are here in Qingdao practicing. Today is July 9th. Oh, here they come. Oh. Whoa. Unbelievable.
The Humane Society's caring and compassion should serve as an inspiration to all of us. Every person who works at the facility deserves to be recognized and applauded for all they do and all they sacrifice.
15 years of hair growth. donate it to the Lots of Love, and have a good time doing it.
Hi, how are you? As many of you know, I've just returned from northern Uganda. It was an incredible time. I saw extreme brokenness, poverty, but also a lot of hope for the future.
All right. So we're back, and let's visit a little bit about what's on the platform that you just saw. 20 high-tech tools launched on WebRTC. We're looking here at the TalkFusion Connect platform. So if you notice on the left side, look at all this video-intensive stuff. The video platform, by the way, and we're talking about their top platform, and we'll get to what that platform actually costs here in just a moment. But looking at the top platform, 15 email users can use the same platform. So a business can purchase one of these, and if you have several employees in the company, they all can use the same platform. Video conferencing, remember Skype that's out there, video webinars. Remember, GoToWebinar. So look at all these things: video hosting, video email, video newsletters. Both video email and video newsletters allow you to send video directly to your client. You're not competing with any other mediums that are out there. You're able to send video directly to your client, and we'll share why that's significant, because people are forwarding these emails and these newsletters to their friends and other people in their area of influence. And then over on the right side, something I want to point out: private labeling and white labeling, and why this is significant in terms of how it affects your SEO and your online presence. So a whole platform of high-tech, high-octane tools helps create center stage presence for your organization on the web. And you put this in conjunction with things that you're doing with your website, with your SEO efforts, with your social media efforts that you're already doing out there, and very significant impact on SEO. Your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we'll talk about, and we've kind of alluded to it before, and we'll talk about it coming, slides, and again when we work with other people. But it's using these different kind of platforms in different technologies to boost your SEO. It's not just a YouTube. It's not just a website. It's not just a social media. It's using these different things to all come together, enhance each other, and work with each other, and then really boost your SEO.
Absolutely. So we have here on this next slide comparing some SEO benefits. So going back to Dave Ford's database with Constant Contact, 3,000 emails were sent out, a 1% organic website clicks coming back. That's 30 clicks. And then let's compare TalkFusion Connect video email. So we're just looking at one of the products that you saw on that platform just moments ago. Private labeled templates contain website code. So in order to take advantage of this SEO benefit, you have to send your logos into the organization. You ask to have your templates private labeled, and then they embed that your logo on the platform, or on your email templates rather, and on your newsletter templates, and that picture that you see there contains your website code, and it creates a white labeling phenomena, which creates backclicks. So here's where you get credit as far as searches for your site. Every outbound video email creates a click, every view by the recipient on the other end, because you get a receipt back right away that they looked at it, and that travels back through the Connect platform. Every forward from receipt from the recipient to their friends, and every view due to post on social media. The other thing is that you can also private label a video autoresponder, which was one of the pieces on that platform, and you can private label that as well. So when people go and fill out your contact form, as soon as they fill it out, you get the benefit of getting their contact form, but the website also fires them off a video autoresponder, and they get another click on their website. How cool is that?
Yep. No, absolutely.
So we take a look at this. These are actually statistics here from the Business Forum show. Response rate to video email here on the show is 75%. So think about what response rate that you might be getting with email efforts that you're doing out there. So the views, the forwards, and the social media views credited to each outbound video email out of the show, we're talking about each one that gets sent out, gets a minimum of 15 clicks on it over about a week or 2 week period. Now, we're actually seeing many that are as high as 70, and our average is actually closer to 35. But we'll use 15 because if we use the other numbers, it just kind of blows people out of the water, and they go, no, that's impossible. So we use the minimum of 15, and the summary is out of the 400 video emails we shoot out of the show here every single month, a benefit of 4,500 clicks. You look at the acceleration there. How does that look compared to 3,000 on Constant Contact and getting 30 clicks versus 400 video emails here and 4,500 clicks? 1,125 times more effective on SEO. How big a deal is that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's huge. The numbers are right there just to show you, again, the impact that it can have.
Yeah. So let's take a look at why organic SEO and web ranking is so important. This is all your ball game, Ben. Take it away.
Yeah. So 90% of all clicks are going to come on the first page above the fold. Now, again, above the fold is going to change a little bit with devices, but the idea is that that top part, again, when we talk about above the fold on a website, it's again where you don't have to necessarily scroll down. So
right.
90% of clicks are going to happen above the fold. We have about 9% happening below the fold, still on the first page, but again, I know we talk about being on the first page, but if you're below the fold, you went just from 90% down to 9.
Yes.
And then anywhere, all the other pages from 2 to 1,000,000 are going to be about 1%.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. So when you think about that, so the above the fold applies to a mobile device, a desktop PC,
Yep.
any device that you're looking at the web and searching on the web, everything that you see that immediately comes up on your screen, that's above the fold.
Yep, that's above the fold.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And so even being on first page alone, as Ben just pointed out, if you drop below that fold, you have you go from whatever your traffic was before all the way down to 10%
of what that was.
And yeah, of what it was, and then you drop to second page and it's 10%. It's 10% of the bottom, so very significant. If you look at it in reverse and you say I'm on second page and you're only getting 1% of all the available clicks you could be getting, and you employ strategies to just get you on the front page, so you're below the fold. Mm-hmm. You've increased your web traffic by 9 times. And now if we get from below the fold to above it, we've increased it by 9 times again. That's a factor of 90 times from second page to above the fold on first page. Pretty significant stuff. That's why SEO is so important, so important. So now let's take a look at some of these old technologies out there. And we're calling them old technologies because, yes, they're in play in businesses today, but you're going to see them go by the wayside here very rapidly. So look at the total cost of all of this, $6,000 per year. We visited a little bit about this beforehand, but $6,000 per year, you're still missing all of these other tools that we just laid out on the platform. And so then the question is, well, how much does Talk Fusion Connect cost? Well, remember the databases with Constant Contact. For 2,500 contacts that you had in your database, you paid $60 for Constant Contact, or you paid $35 for MailChimp if you had that. Well, $35 a month is what it costs to have the platform connected. And then there's 4 different platforms rather that you can choose from in your organization. They start as much as $14.99. But you compare that, the very best platform, $14.99, compared to $6,000 of the old technology, and you don't have anywhere near the same kind of tools. Significantly lower. By the way, that's a one-time cost, so very significant, and $35 a month, a significant value here. Now let's just talk a little bit about time too, because time is a really important factor. In fact, for many people, when you think about time, time is actually more important than the actual money difference is. So let's think about time. Now, if somebody gets expert YouTube video and channel management from somebody like yourself, or they get expert SEO, social media, website management, and we're not suggesting at all that somebody doesn't do these things. If you don't, you're going to disappear. So you absolutely have to be doing these things. But if you're taking somebody from ground zero, we're looking at 12, 24 months before you got lead generation. Yeah. And we listen. What do you think about some of these SEO people that are saying, well, hey, I got results for my client in 3 months or 6 months or whatever else? What do you think the probability of that is?
Yeah. Well, again, it could be just a little BS, and some of it, but a lot of it, like we talk about, is the kind of impact we're looking for, because there are some movement that's going to start happening, maybe between the 3 to 6, 6 to 9, but Google, again, is pretty much going to reward you. Again, it does take, again, about the 12 to 18. Again, a lot of times we tell people 12 to 18 months is really where it is, because again, Google's going to make you kind of put in the effort for it.
Yeah. So a tool that can have impact on your organization in 60 to 90 days, how big a deal is that?
Huge, absolutely. And again, like we talked about, is the sentence down there, explains it best, is this isn't to replace like what we've been talking about, or again, the website, SEO, YouTube. It's to accelerate it.
Exactly.
And to really kind of boost it.
Exactly. So big deal, folks, 60 to 90 days. And we're seeing many, many business examples where we're seeing, and this I almost don't feel like sharing this because it hardly seems true, but I've seen the evidence of it. People tripling their revenue in 90 days. I mean, that is completely off the charts when you think about that. And so the beautiful thing here is you don't go it alone. You can leverage our expertise. Myself, Dave, Ben, several others here available to help you make this work. So you don't go it alone. We'll teach you how to use the tool. If you need advice on scripts or professional video help, that's something that we can do as well. And then the last slide here that we have to share with you today. Hey, we shared with you a mountain of evidence. So this discussion we had today was not about whether WebRTC is real or not, because some people are still out there having that debate, silly enough, and whether or not Talk Fusion Connect works or not. It's only a discussion about whether people get this and people realize that it's not optional in today's market anymore. All these marketing tools that you might be using in your business, some of these outdated technologies that you might be using in your business, it's okay if you don't get it. And we recognize that a majority of business people actually don't.
Yep.
There's a reason why only 4% get to that 10-year anniversary, and there's a reason why only 1% live the American dream. We get it that most people don't get it. So, looking at what we shared with you today, there's all kinds of opportunities for you to go out there and do a little bit of your own research if you'd like. But we've seen a very compelling evidence that this is exactly what business people need to do. And so you can reach Ben or Dave or myself here through the Business Forum Show. Just go to the website, thebusinessforumshow.com. You can also reach Ben. Share your contact information with Skoll Marketing.
Yeah, so you can definitely find us on the website at skollmarketing.com. That's SKOL marketing.com.
Ben's a big Viking fan, if you can't tell.
Also, being big into social media, you can find me on LinkedIn, Google+. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So it's pretty easy if you just Google Ben Theis, in Google as well. So.
Absolutely. So Kevin Hunter here with Ben Theis on the Business Forum Show. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we look forward to your questions and comments in the future.